only a brave man would put money on the outcome of the car race. The Chepex still held the advantage, but were driving at 10/10 as they tried to keep the big Toyota at bay.
Well, what they're doing now is they're racing to get to the service point as fast as they can to try and pull a gap on RP, have a quick refuel and get out and pull a lead on him in the service.
Not even Schilling and Thorn's brutal-sounding V8-powered Jimco with its automatic gearbox could keep up the pace being set, and they'd already lost a bit of ground to the two leaders as the field now headed towards the service area for the final time. Harvey and Stone had made up a lot of ground as their rivals struck problems. They'd leapfrogged to fourth, having passed both Veslau and Lambert. Bahrain was still going strong, but was to lose a lot of time and drop off the leaderboard shortly after the service. Although not with the leaders, Veslau and Sally were having one of their best races, and the Astoria Roseco looked to be in good shape. Coetzee and Swanepoel were making up time very quickly, but their demise was imminent. A steering failure pitched them off the road.
Well, this is one of those times when the car goes off the road and you like to think that's something else. You know it's a problem, but you're just trying to tell yourself, no, it's not so bad, it may be a puncture. But I guess at that time Cassie knew that there was a serious problem.
The Epsom car duly arrived for service, and the Chepex took on fuel, as John Lambert's better half summed up off-road racing.
We wait here for hours with nothing happening when the first car arrives, and you know the action's starting, and it's all the excitement starting all over again.
Well, our mate here, Roland Lambert, has just arrived. He's just stuck the car on its roof and burnt out the wiring loom, so they're going to make a makeshift plan. One of the advantages of racing in South Africa is everyone's there to help you, and in the States things are a lot different.
The major difference is the service areas. Where in the States we are allowed to service anywhere and everywhere. Here they're not, and one big difference is we're allowed to pre-run prior to the race and get to know the course. Therefore, it allows faster race pace and a faster overtime speed. Compared to here, you run off pace notes and you don't get to see the track first. You only get to run it once.
Van Deventer was in a class of his own and wasn't extending himself as he controlled the pace in the quad category. Breckel was still second, but could do little about reducing the gap to the Gaulois blonde rider. He still had a comfortable cushion over Funamava, who was riding his heart out in a futile attempt to get back on terms with the leaders. Notice how he steers with one hand as he calmly switches over to his reserve tanks as they head towards the service park. By now, Paul Chomsa was well behind the front runners, but his fourth place wasn't under threat. As each kilometre was completed, so McLaughlin was extending his lead, and the Shell Connex Lesotho office equipment team could sense victory, and the double, as Dalton now looked secure in second place. Davies had retired his big Honda earlier in the morning, and a fine ride from Greg Aspinall saw him move up to third. Panikak was riding with a maturity that belied his youth, and was focused on the 200 class victory. Ensland was a joy to watch as he wrung every ounce of performance out of the FMF Kawasaki. As the riders tackled the last leg, he was closing on Panikak. Also riding as though there was no tomorrow was Cox, who was now looking at a top 10 finish. Not bad considering he was 17th at the start of the day. The rider he wanted to catch was Carl LaRue, who was holding a steady 6th. It's not often that an off-road race turns into a stock car race. Reinecker was now glued to the Chepex exhaust, but there's no room to pass, and the Raceco crew rightfully held their line.
Well, this is a bit of a controversial part of the race because the faster car should have been let through, and France should have let him through because RP had caught time on him. And obviously RP came and gave him a tap and said, hello, I'm here, time to let me through. He may not have felt the first one, but that one he felt. And then he pulls over immediately and lets RP through, which is the right thing to have done. I think he couldn't have held him off. After all, it's a separate race, you know, the production vehicles and the specials are separate, and he could have jeopardized his race chance.
Newton Love and Colin Podes picked up a puncture shortly before the end, and this gave Leon Buerter and Richard Everingham the opportunity they'd been waiting for, as they took the Class B lead as soon as the unlucky Love and Podes stopped to change the offending item. The Class E battle was a canter for the Birkin brothers, as they led from start to finish and were well clear of Visser and Fanikak, who did well to close to within 12 minutes of the Birkin team. Second in Class D and fourth in the production category looked to be secure for the Yos and their hobbled Land Rover. There were no last-minute dramas for Reinecker and Houghton as they arrived at the finish to win Toyota's own event. The Birkins duly got second place, but almost 2 hours behind, while Visser and Fanikak gave Toyota a clean sweep ahead of the Sabert Land Rover. Fifth finally went to Schumi van Vuren and Fani Kotzer in the Mitsubishi Pajero as the Frankenbergs rounded off the top 6.
But we're very proud to be here, and we're very happy to win this event. It's one of the biggest events on the calendar, and I think it's a major one to win.
Out comes the bubbly and the traditional ritual of then wasting it. Less than a minute behind the victorious Toyota, the disgruntled Chepek crew arrived to claim the special vehicle honours. They'd extended their cushion on Schilling and Thorn to 17 minutes, while Harvey and Stone took third ahead of Veslau and Sally, who hadn't put a foot wrong throughout.
Well, a wonderful achievement for Franz Chepek Jr. This is the first time he's driven the race and won it, and he's done the whole event. Normally his dad does half the driving and he does the driving. He's really done well. Well done, Franz.
As expected, McLaughlin arrived home to win his second successive desert race, as Dalton made it a Honda 1-2 by taking second, albeit 22 minutes behind. A brilliant ride from Aspinall saw him take third ahead of Finikak and Enslin. LaRue was well pleased with his sixth place as Cox climbed to eighth, and Wayne Farmer was 10th overall and the second 200cc rider home.
I pushed hard the whole day. This morning when I pulled off, I thought I had a good chance, and I definitely just pushed hard the whole day. I think the other guys are quite a way back. There's a couple of cars two cars where I got lucky. They wrong slotted because I was in the dust for about 15 minutes and they wrong slotted and I got past them. I think that's where I got my break.
There was a similarly dominant ride from Van Deventer, who was due to leave for a race in Portugal later in the week. Breckel kept his second place despite Van der Bava closing the gap slightly. The rest were over 2 hours behind as Cornel de Villiers claimed the 200 class honours.
Ek het een foutjie gemaak hier voor die einde en ek het geval, is die eerste keer. Ja, ek sien baie uit na Portugal. Ek wil net sê baie dankie aan Gulas Blond, Castro, wat my gehelp het om hier te kom en my help om daar te gaan ry. En ek kan net vir die organisasie en al die mense sê baie dankie, het was 'n pyk event, baie dankie.